If I told you that a mechanism built over 2,000 years ago worked on the same principles as modern clockwork, would you believe it? This device could predict eclipses, simulate the retrograde motion of planets, mechanically replicate the moon's changing speed, and then the knowledge vanished.
I've studied the mechanism now for more than 20 years, and the more I study it, the more it becomes clear that everything built into it is right for ancient Greece.
If he is right, why haven't we seen any trace of this technology for 1,500 years? Did humanity stop?
Message is that we have a so far untold backstory, that we're concentrating entirely on the front story, and the backstory is missing, very largely missing.
Or did we never stop, and the history we were told was a lie? Who's right? Watch now and decide. It was the size of a shoebox, corroded, broken, but inside it was a mind that calculated the sky. It captured the imagination of scientists and sparked a debate that would last more than a century. Spring 1900. Sponge divers, escaping a storm, took shelter near a small island. The island was Antikythera. Instead of waiting it out, they decided to dive. Elias Stadiatis descended 45 meters. On the seafloor, he saw scattered arms and faces. Shaken, he yanked the signal line and rushed back to the surface. He said he had found a mass grave. Captain Dimitrios Kontos didn't believe him. He dove down himself. He resurfaced holding a single green-stained bronze arm. They weren't bodies, they were statues. What they had found was a massive Roman shipwreck, about 40 to 50 meters long, a titan of a vessel. A century later, researchers would determine it had likely been built around 235 BCE and sank between 80 and 60 BCE. The ship was loaded with art bound from Rhodes to Rome. Marble statues, bronze figures, jewelry, and a young mind. The remains of a teenage boy around 15 to 20 years old. The skeleton, believed by some to be connected to the mechanism, was later nicknamed Pamphilos. Beside him lay a lump of corroded metal dismissed by almost everyone. The artifacts were taken to the National Archaeological Museum in Athens. For 2 years, no one paid attention to the metal fragments. Then in 1902, museum researcher Valerios Stais noticed tiny gear teeth embedded in the corrosion. This was not decoration, it was a mechanism. Today we call it the Antikythera Mechanism. It dates back to the 2nd century BCE. Inside were more than 30 bronze gears, each gear dependent on another. One error would have destroyed the entire system, but there were no errors. Some gears were only 1 millimeter thick. The tolerance? Just 1/10 of a millimeter. No electricity, no microscopes, no industrial lathes. It was craftsmanship beyond belief. The bronze was deliberately chosen. Iron rusts and expands, locking up a mechanism. Bronze forms a thin protective layer, a patina. It reduces friction. It protects the system. For thousands of years, inscribed on its surface were 3,500 characters of instructions. The letters were only 1.2 millimeters tall.
When we first looked at the results, it was astonishing. We've had to rethink the history of technology completely as a result of this single object. It's such a clever, extraordinary, sophisticated machine. Completely shocking for ancient Greece.
For centuries afterward, nothing at this level was built again. Not in the Roman Empire, not in medieval Europe, not even in the early Renaissance. This was a portable astronomical calculator. Today, we have 82 surviving fragments about 1/3 of the original device. Understanding it wasn't easy. In 2005, a 12-ton X-ray machine nicknamed Blade Runner scanned the fragments in high resolution, millimeter by millimeter. Scratches invisible to the human eye emerged, and then came the most astonishing discovery: a user manual. Hidden gears were revealed as well. In 2018, researchers revisited the raw data. They corrected distortions, built clearer models. What emerged was shocking.
The Greeks were thinking really deeply about the universe, how it worked.
The mechanism contained a differential gear system, the same principle used in modern mechanical clocks. The Antikythera Mechanism had begun to speak. It didn't just show the sun and the moon. Using Babylonian astronomical data, it calculated the retrograde motion of Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. On its back was the Saros cycle predicting the 18-year pattern of eclipses. A dual-sided pointer known as the dragon hand could even indicate whether an eclipse would appear red or dark, and whether it would sweep in from the north or the south. By turning a single crank, you could see the details of an eclipse years in the future. This machine calculated the repeating mathematics of time. The moon does not move at a constant speed. Its orbit is elliptical. Sometimes it accelerates, sometimes it slows. The mechanism used a pin and slot system to mechanically simulate that variation. This wasn't simple observation. It was advanced mathematical modeling. It was an analog computer. Over the centuries, inscriptions had cracked, worn down, and become unreadable. In the modern era, the Ithaca model designed by DeepMind was trained to reconstruct damaged ancient Greek texts based on contexts. Modern artificial intelligence is now trying to complete the thoughts of ancient intelligence. It's an ironic loop. A mechanical mind from 2,000 years ago, decoded by today's digital minds. The Antikythera Mechanism was not just the first analog computer. It is proof that technological history is not linear. Knowledge was discovered, it reached a peak, and then it was lost. By the Middle Ages, no one possessed this level of differential gear understanding. Humanity would wait nearly 1,500 years to rediscover the same principles. Science fiction writer Arthur C. Clarke once said, if the ancient Greeks had fully grasped the potential of this technology, they could have reached the moon within 300 years. A rusted gear lifted from the sea floor reminds us of something unsettling. The past was smarter than we think, but knowledge is fragile. If it was lost once before, who's to say it couldn't be lost again?